Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of In Pursuit of a Parlay Season 2, Episode 7. And I got that feeling this week. I've got that feeling that this is going to be the one where we hit. This is the winner's episode. We're going as hard as we can, giving ourselves the best odds. We're looking to make 10 to 1 on our money this week. We're going favorites, we're going money lines, and through the power of the parlay, we're going to make a bunch of money. If this is your first time watching or listening, thank you so much for checking in. Please like, subscribe, do all of that. Make sure you don't miss an episode moving forward. Reach out. We want to be collaborative. Let me know what games you want to have picked. We're just going to dig right into it. I'm excited. Here we go. Game 1 this week. We're going to go 4 college, 4 NFL games. You see it right here, highlighting over it. Michigan versus Iowa. We're showing Michigan's going to win this one outright about 76% of the time. And this is the battle of offense versus defense. The Michigan offense is humming 489 yards a game. But that Iowa defense is about as good as they come statistically in college football right now. Michigan has no shortage of playmakers. Quarterback J.J. McCarthy has been solid through the air. 5 touchdowns and 693 yards through these 4 games. Michigan 4-0. First place in the Big Ten East, at 4-0, 1-0 in the conference. You have to account for Blake Corum at running back. You have to account for Ronnie Bell at wide receiver. These guys are future pros. There is a lot to like in this Michigan offense. On the other side of that, we have to talk about the Iowa defense. Iowa 3-1, first place in the Big Ten West, tied with Minnesota. And this is a defensive team. They're about as bad as it gets in terms of passing yards, 124th in the nation at 131 yards a game. They're 116th in the nation with only 101 rushing yards a game, and tied for 233rd in the country at 17 points per game. But they have only given up 5.8 points per game thus far, placing them firmly number 1 in America in points against. Now they haven't played powerhouses, but they also haven't played nobody. Played Rutgers, played Nevada, played Iowa State, as well as South Dakota State. I don't think the defense is the best defense in the country, but it's very, very good, as Michigan will find out this week. But I don't think that's going to matter a ton. As I said, Michigan, 489 yards a game. They're completing about half of their first downs, 46.3%, averaging 50 points a game. I don't know how Iowa can keep up with this. This is going to be our first play over at bovadasportsbook.com. Our first play of the day. We're going to take Michigan. We're only going money line. We want to win this thing. Like I said, we want to 10 to 1 our money this week. Only going money line. First safe play of the day. We are showing Michigan will cover 87% of the time if you want to go that route, but stick with us. Number 2. Number 18, Oklahoma heads to TCU to take on the Horned Frogs. Showing Oklahoma is going to win this one about 65% of the time here. And you have to wonder, is this Oklahoma team the team we saw lose to Kansas State, or the team we've seen be so efficient so far this season? 3-1, only 7th place in the Big 12, but I mean, that's just a function of their 0-1 in conference. Wouldn't worry too much about that. Dylan Gabriel has been good at the helm, 1,089 yards with plus 11 touchdowns. Marvin Mims at wide receiver is going to be a future NFL player, 393 yards on 18 catches so far, and Eric Gray's been good in the backfield. For TCU, they find themselves 3-0, 5th place in the Big 12, 0-0 in conference. None of that means a ton just yet. They cannot throw the ball. Let's get this out there. I guess it's not so much that they can't throw the ball. I guess it's that they don't have that big-time number 1 receiver. I guess that's a better way of putting it. Darius Davis leads the way, only 126 yards through 3 games, so their passing offense is solid at almost 300 a game, spreading it out Quarterback Max Duggan, the leading passer, 695 yards and 8 touchdowns. We're showing that Oklahoma's going to cover this one about 70% of the time. I do feel good about that, but we don't care. We're just looking to make money here. Oklahoma minus 210 at Bovada is the way we're going to play this. And that'll be our second pick in an 8-pick parlay. Maybe a couple bonuses, we'll see. Minus 210, that parlay goes from minus 410 to minus 120 at Bovada, and you got to feel a lot better about that. That we're going to get into positive numbers before you know it, and we're playing it as safe as you can. Next game up on the docket here. It's a good one. Top 25 matchup, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Let's find it right here. The Alabama Crimson Tide head to Arkansas to take on the Razorbacks. Oh, boy. We're showing that Alabama's going to win this one outright about 93% of the time. This is a fun game, an SEC matchup. Bama's 4-0, first place in the SEC West. And they have looked good other than that weird game against Texas. Sort of had their big comeback after that. Have dominated every other matchup. They've scored at least 55 points in every other matchup. Bryce Young looks great. I would like to see some consistency at the wide receiver position, though. So I would like to see whether it's Jermaine Burton or whoever step up and be the number one guy. For Arkansas, 3-1, fifth place in the SEC West. But like I said, doesn't mean a ton. They do have 2 conference games, 1-1 thus far. KJ Jefferson has been solid for them at quarterback, 941 yards and 8 scores. And Raheem Sanders is having quite a season, 83 carries, 3 touchdowns, 508 total yards thus far. We're showing that Alabama only going to win this one about 53% of the time. Again, only cover the spread about 53% of the time. I think they're going to cover the spread. I think they're going to cover the spread easily. We're not going to get greedy. We'll take, it's only minus 850, and you say that's not exciting, but that minus 850 at Bovada is going to stack with those other picks that we've made so far. We're going to get into double figures before we get out of college football. We're going to get into, positive numbers before we get out of college football. Add that 850 money line, and look, there it is already. You're looking at the screen if you're watching on the YouTube, and if you're not, check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/theunderdog or mattcronepicks.com, whatever works for you. You'll see that our parlay 3 picks in at Bovada plus 105 right now. We're going to move on to our final college football game. That's going to be the Stanford Cardinal heading to Oregon to take on the Oregon Ducks. Let's find this one a little bit later at night here. This is an 11 o'clock start. So there you go. Keep scrolling. And here we are. Bovada has Stanford plus 17, but not a big concern of ours as we're going straight money lines for today. Showing that Oregon's going to win this one about 84% of the time. Not as uneven a matchup as you would think. And 2 good college quarterbacks. Nix against McKee here. Total yards, Oregon's a little bit better. Yards allowed, Oregon's a little bit better. But I'll tell you what, Stanford is better than their 1-2 record indicates at this point. They are 1-2. They're 12th place in the Pac-10, dead last because they're 0-2 in conference. The only team to have 2 losses in conference so far. They lost Emmitt Smith's kid, who was out for the season, the running back. Tanner McKee, 814 yards and 6 scores. You'd like to see that pick up a little bit, find the end zone a little bit more. As I mentioned, E.J. Smith out for the year is their current leading rusher, 106 yards. Michael Wilson, their leading receiver at 288. The passing game's been good, 39th in the country. But other than that, kind of middling. It's a lot of good at some things, great at nothing. Oregon 3-1, second place in the Pac-12, 1-0 in conference. Look, 1-0 in conference, second place. You can't do anything about that, right? They've only played 1 conference game. USC is 2-0 in conference so far, 4-0 overall. Bo Nix has been good for this team. through 4 games, 1,100 yards passing and 11 touchdowns. Troy Franklin, their leading receiver. Would like to see them tighten up the defense a little bit, giving up 31 points per game so far, including, obviously brought up by that bad loss to Georgia 49-3. We're showing that Oregon's going to cover this one about 85% of the time, but as I said, meaningless to us here. We're going to take the Oregon minus 800 money line at Bovada. Not going to add a ton, but money is money, right? Come away with more at the end of the day. We are plus 131, leaving the world of college football. We're going to head to the NFL, scroll through here, and this is apparently just college football. Scrolling through here, going down, down. NFL games do exist somewhere, right? The NFL is going to be played this Sunday. We're gonna have to go out of this a little bit and go right there. Have this zoomed in to make it easier for you to see and makes it difficult to navigate. This is the game I'm interested in, this Minnesota Vikings New Orleans Saints game we're showing. It's about a coin flip, quite frankly, who's going to win this one. Minnesota will get running back Dalvin Cook back, probably going to be on a snap count, but just having him back in the lineup to complement their backup, Alexander Madison, it's going to be huge for them. The Vikings 2-1, first place in the NFC North. Kirk Cousins leads the way, 758 yards, 5 touchdowns. What's going on with Justin Jefferson? Is this going to be the Justin Jefferson break back out game? Or is that New Orleans secondary good enough to hold him down? We'll see. The Saints, a ton of changes. 1 and 2, second place in the NFC North right now, NFC South right now. But they're going to be without Jameis Winston. Andy Dalton's taking first team snaps today. Michael Thomas is out again. You wonder, is this going to be a permanent change at quarterback? And is it going to be good or bad for this team? A little more consistency, even if it doesn't have the ultimate upside that Jameis does, might be the way to go when you have a Michael Thomas and a Chris Olave and an Alvin Kamara. And you have all of this Jarvis Landry. You have weapons. You just need to not turn the football over. We're showing that Minnesota is going to cover this one about 78% of the time. Not a big difference between the minus 115 and the minus 165 money line at Bovada. And you know what we're doing today. It's all money lines. We'll take the Vikings to win, minus 165. That's going to bring our parlay from plus 131 to plus 271, 3 picks in. I still think we're going to get up to about 1,000. But even if, right now, $100, 5 safe bets, you're more than 2xing your money, more than 2.5xing your money, slightly more than 2.7xing your money. Next game we're going to talk about, this is the interesting one. Cleveland Browns, Atlanta Falcons. This is the closest in terms of the two teams that we're going to make a pick on this weekend. We're showing it's pretty much a coin flip, much like the Vikings game. Who wins this one? For Cleveland, a lot of it's going to depend on whether or not Myles Garrett, their star defensive end, is going to be in the lineup. Was in that single car accident earlier this week, allegedly swerved to avoid an animal while driving at a high rate of speed. Dumb stuff for the superstar, but he's trying to be out there. If he is, I feel a lot better about this. If he isn't, I do still believe that the consistency we've seen through the passing game with Jacoby Brissett over the last couple of games, plus the dominant run game behind the NFL's leading rusher, Nick Chubb, is going to be enough to beat a bad Falcons team. The Browns, by the way, 2-1, first place in the AFC North. The Falcons 1-2, second place in the NFC South, tied with a couple of other teams there. And they've just been inconsistent. Marcus Mariota's been just good enough to lose. He is not making the splash plays. I don't know if he's scared. I don't know if it's just the overly conservative nature of this offense. But you wonder, what would they be without this breakout play by Cordarrelle Patterson, who is second in the NFL in rushing through 3 weeks, behind only the aforementioned Nick Chubb of the Browns. 49 carries for 302 yards and a couple of scores. it's the emergence of Patterson has been unbelievable. Just utterly unbelievable. The Falcons, 5th in the NFL in rushing yards, 156 a game. We're showing the Browns are going to win this one just over half of the time, and I feel good about that. I also feel good about the under in this if you fancy that kind of thing, but that's not where we're going right now. We'll take Cleveland minus 120 at Bovada, and that is going to bring our parlay now 6 picks in up to a plus 580. Respectable. Can't be upset about that. 5.8x you're the money in. Next game we're going to go to, the next game on the schedule right here. This one pains me a little bit, quite frankly. Anybody who's been listening to the show, anybody who's been watching the show knows that I've been in on the Jaguars since the season's beginning. But I have to go the other way this time because this Philadelphia Eagles team looks good. We're showing the Eagles are going to win this one about 2/3 of the time outright. Feels right. Jacksonville 2-1, first place in the AFC South. Granted, it's probably the worst division in football this season. Trevor Lawrence has figured stuff out under new head coach Doug Peterson, 772 yards over 3 games. James Robinson and Christian Kirk, who we all made fun of the signing, has been outstanding at receiver. Kirk, 18 catches, 3 touchdowns, on pace for 100 catches and 1,500 yards. So well worth the $81 million they gave him in free agency. Eagles 3-0, the NFL's last unbeaten team. By the way, the NFL's last unbeaten team has gone to the Super Bowl 10 times since the year 2000. Just something to keep an eye on for the Eagles fans out there. First place in the NFC East. Jalen Hurts is, I can't say revelation enough. He's been a revelation at the quarterback position. One of the leading, one of the people with the highest odds for MVP through 3 games now. Small sample size, and we have to see what's going to go on here, and we have to see what happens once the Eagles aren't a surprise to anybody anymore. And I think we've hit that point. This Jaguars game is going to be very telling this weekend. We're showing Jacksonville is going to cover the 6.5 about 53% of the time, but fear not. It's not our concern. We're going to take this minus 275 at Bovada, and that is going to bring our parlay now 7 of 8 picks in from 580 to plus 827 at Bovada. This is free money. This is free money this week. I love it. Last game, and talk about free money. The New England Patriots head to Green Bay to take on the Green Bay Packers. And we just have, right here. Bovada's got this one. Packers getting 9.5. How crazy is that? How crazy 3 weeks ago to think something like that. Getting 9.5, and it's probably not enough, quite frankly. We're showing that Green Bay is going to win this one outright about 88% of the time. For New England, they're going to be without their starting quarterback, Mac Jones. It's going to be his first career missed start. They turn to Brian Hoyer, who has been around forever, and I think we know what he is at this point, and they don't have the talent at the skill positions to let Hoyer be a game manager. He's going to have to make plays in this game plan in order to compete with a high-powered Packers offense that has figured things out over the last couple of weeks. And that feels like it's going to be a problem. Nelson Aguilar, by the way, now the Patriots leading receiver, 179 yards, 11 catches through 3 weeks. Green Bay started to figure stuff out offensively a little bit, and the defense has also been very good, by the way. It's a dangerous combination. 2-1, first place in the NFC North, tied with those Minnesota Vikings. Aaron Rodgers, only 684 yards, 4 touchdowns through these 3 games, but you sort of have to take that first game out of it when the offense was completely out of sync. Rookie Romeo Doubs has stepped up and may now be the Packers' number 1 wide receiver. The team is 9th in the NFL in rushing yards per game, 127. 6th in points against, the most impressive stat here, only giving up 15 points per game, while only scoring 16, which is 27th in the NFL. But they get David Bakhtiari back last week. This is not going to be a competitive game. We're showing Green Bay's even going to cover this one about 77% of the time. Doesn't matter. The outright win is probably the lock of the week. Packers minus 500 at Bovada. And that's going to take our parlay. There it is. It's going to take our parlay up over a 10x multiple for the payout. The final parlay, 8 picks. And I believe it is our safest parlay of either season to date. It's going to be a plus 1,012 at Bovada right now. This is as close to free money as you're going to get. So that is going to be it for this week's episode of In Pursuit of a Parlay. I've been Chris Horwedel. Thank you so much for listening. Please reach out. Please subscribe. Do all of that good stuff. Tell your friends. And we'll be back next week.